Spurs fans, and welcome back to another episode of the San Antonio Minute. My name is Matt Guzman. I'm a lead reporter over at Spurs on SI. Today we're talking about Stephon Castle. Now, the rookie, drafted number 4 overall by the Spurs, is supposed to be playing a point guard role this season, which is something that he didn't quite do over at UConn. Granted, he didn't need to. They had two 40% shooters. They had a great squad, very deep all around. So there was he played a different role than he's expected to with the Spurs, who are very young, looking to improve and looking to get better. Especially with Chris Paul just being signed by the Spurs to kind of mentor him and Victor Wembanyama next to him, Castle's going to need to be able to facilitate the ball and find his spots and find his players as well. So you kind of think back where he started and you kind of figure out where he might have gotten that instinct, that versatility that the Spurs loved from him at number 4. Now, when you look at it, his dad was actually one of his first coaches in his basketball career. Coached him over at AAU, him and his best friend Ja'Kai Newton, who Spurs on SI actually got to speak to. They attested that Stacey Castle, his dad, was one of the best coaches that they'd ever played for. He was really hard on Stephon, and he has the basketball background to back it up because there was 2 seasons he actually played over at Wake Forest with Tim Duncan, one of the Spurs' all-time greats. Now, whenever Castle was speaking to the media for the first time in San Antonio, they asked him about his dad playing with Tim Duncan and whether or not he'd heard any rumors that Castle might have outplayed Duncan over at Wake Forest. And he said, I quote, "I heard that he played with Tim Duncan. I didn't hear the outplayed part. I heard a few, of course there were good stories, but the outplaying part, that didn't quite get to me." Obviously, this was said in jest. Stephon Castle knows that there's just as much greatness on Tim Duncan as he probably sees in his own father. But it makes sense. And it's interesting to note that one of the first people that ever taught him basketball had that tie with Duncan. And so the Spurs are going to have to learn to use Castle. Castle's going to have to learn to work with the team. But there's definitely a partnership coming in the future.